Okay, this should be the last one for today. There's a lot of cases and things that are going on in Nueces County. You know, Judge Williams, Guy Williams, who basically told the defendant Rosas that the DA Skirka, you could bring a civil suit against him. I don't know of any counties across the U.S. where judges are regularly saying in courtrooms that the DA has been criminal in his acts, but because he's immune from prosecution and he keeps doing it, he's criminal. When the man's out of office, you have a criminal on the street, according to the judges, because that's criminal to do that. They're signing off on things. This morning when I was, or last night when I was in my office prayer room, I just put up the names of 3 boys that the most recent homicide. We had 3 this month, I think 24 this year, and it's like, it's 4 times what the homicide rate was a few years ago. But when you have all types of this going on, so I cut the paper out of the 3 boys. Maybe they're guilty, I don't know. They just got arrested. They're on $1 million bond. But when you have such corruption within the county, within the DA and prosecutors and all, collusion with CCPD, because that detective from CCPD, I don't know who he was, they got Valent to lie in the Gaitan case. Now, Judge Nanette Hassett, last year, I guess, the same thing. She had Mark Skirka, the prosecutor and all, in her court. The same thing. She basically said they were retaliating and committing crimes here. The so-called law enforcement by the local judges are publicly being called out and saying, we don't know how to stop these guys. That was Nanette Hassett, and now you got Guy Williams. When I was looking at the faces of all the cases that I put up, I saw an old case. He was a mechanic in Corpus Christi called Ruby Rubio. I just had, because I put all the faces up from the newspaper clippings, and I pray for these cases. Ruby Rubio is in prison, I don't know, for life, for raping a girl, kidnapping her, holding her, threatening to murder her, and raping her. All right, it's a bad thing. During the trial, now this is DA process, this is Skirka and all. I believe these guys openly will lie, use false testimony, that because this has all been shown. Ruby Rubio, I remember his girlfriend or his wife, after he was arrested for raping and kidnapping and all this, his girlfriend said, the only thing he did wrong was he went back to using cocaine. I guess he had a drug problem, but he had a mechanic shop. I don't believe he spoke in his own defense, but as I looked at, this was a few years ago, when I looked at the case, you could see the girl lied. Basically, she was out at 3 a.m. in the morning, and she said that this man came up to her, kidnapped her, took her back to his mechanic shop, raped her, threatened to kill her, hostage, and all this. Well, but then the evidence for the defense was there were other workers there at the shop at the time. And they walked in and out. Then she never yelled or said, he kidnapped me, he had just attempted to murder me, none of that. Dropped her off wherever she was going. She never called 911 or anything. Then she told her mom about it later. And then the story was kidnapped, held against the will, raped and all. For sure the girl lied in the sense that some part of her testimony everyone saw was a lie. You would think in a case like that, okay, the DA and all and the detectives, they're going to see. But not if they're lying themselves, they're not going to see. Not if they're so corrupt that local judges from the bench are saying we cannot stop them. Then you had the guy, the more recent one, which is the city I worked with some guys from, which is the city of Bishop. And there was a home repairman that a woman hired to do repairs on her house. Okay, this is a case that I just saw in the news. Okay, she said the home repairman threatened to rape her or raped her. But there was no DNA because he made her take a shower, maybe true. But when the cops went to arrest the man who was living in Kingsville and he did the repairs in Bishop, the lady's story was he kidnapped her and was taking her to Mexico. But on the way to Mexico, she convinced him to change his mind, and she dropped him back off at his home in Kingsville. She went to Bishop, then called the police and said she was raped by this man. Okay? When the police went to arrest the man, he was at his residence. He did not attempt to flee immediately. He said, "What are you here for? Look, if you committed a rape the night before, we're kidnapping somebody all the way to Mexico. That's strange." And then they said, "We had a report from a woman in Bishop that you raped her." And then he said, "If she's gonna effing do that, you're gonna have a murder charge." That was what the man said. Then I think he was gonna run at that point because he had a previous record, I think, in California. Sounded strange to me. When the woman gave her testimony, they don't give you the name of the woman. She said, as he was raping her and she was calling out to God for help. Now, if this is true, then it's true. It sounded untrue to me. She said, as she was praying for God to help her, he said, "Now, see, what can your Lord and Savior do for you now?" It just sounded strange. It sounded like she made it up. If she didn't make it up, fine. I think he wanted to give his own defense, but his lawyer said not. Okay, he got convicted, sent up. In all of these cases, what's required to determine truth is you have a DA and a prosecutor. You have them not themselves lying constantly to the point where judges from the bench have said you are doing this. I don't believe just because Skirk is out, that the feds, if there's some way that they can come in and just shut that department down and go through and see how many more are like that. But I don't think they do that. I think it's going to go on the way it is. The case of my friends, the ones that disturbed me were cases where officers did things that you'd be in prison for. And not only were they not in prison, but they did it with the acknowledgement of the supervisors that were over them. I know this. And I thought, there are other counties where officers are in prison for certain things that were openly, publicly done in Corpus Christi by officers. And the chief of police and supervisors were fully aware of it. I came to know that over time. So it showed me, in one particular case, the victim of the officer went to the internal affairs and all, and they did nothing about it. The victims get targeted. Victims of police abuse, meaning police that targeted citizens in Corpus Christi. Those victims become targeted. So it showed me it wasn't a matter of whether the DA knew about it. Because you have had this open criminality going on for so many years in the county. And so when I see some of these other cases, I think, even if the prosecutors and cops, even if they knew that somebody did not murder the girl, Carlos de Luna case, even if they knew that Carlos de Luna said Carlos Hernandez actually did it, and Hernandez more than likely did do it because he bragged about, I did the murder and they put so-and-so to death, or he's in prison for the murder. They knew because they lied and said, we don't know who Carlos, there's no Carlos Hernandez. It's a famous murder case. Lying in all of this, still doing it. Still doing it. Just this is a history here. This is a history I'm a little bit north of Corpus Christi in Oasis County. Cannot recommend anybody coming to this part of the country. Primarily because of that. Whether they catch the guy who robbed the credit union right down my block yesterday or not, or whether they just get anybody, whether it's the person or not. They don't seem to be concerned with actually, if there's a murder, get the guy who did the murder. They're not concerned with that. In the Gaitan case, he's still in prison now. And they lied, that kid's innocent. That Gaitan's innocent, they got him in prison for murder. They know. They know. The judges, the higher courts in Texas have already sent a lot of cases back. Said, look, release these people or retry them. They just sit on it. It's like bureaucracy. But the problem is they know they're doing this. They know it. Many of if you go down about 30, maybe 40 miles from here, there's a child's home I used to pass on the way to work for the Kingsville Fire Department. And it was used to be a ministry, it used to be Teen Challenge, but then over the years, and I used to pass it a lot, it was a nice property right off of this highway called, up there it's Highway 77. This is 37. They had a lot of cases of child abuse that were reported, and they were bringing to the courts, many, over the years. And you would expect, yes, because troubled children are in the child's home, and maybe there are cases. Again, Judge Guy Williams, a month or two ago, they had a case of a father or a stepfather accused of sexual assault of the kid. That judge threw that out, and again, because they did an interview with the child, and normally, I guess, when you do interviews of sex assault of children, you do them over a period of days, and you might have, 100 hours of testimony, or 100 hours interview, or something like that. You would never just do 6 minutes. Well, it came out in court that, and the interviewers and all that were doing it, it was shown that the cops and all that were supposed to be doing this, that they all violated his rules, you got to use. And now all of those child cases, where there were child abuse report, all of them are going to have to be redone or thrown out over a period of years. John, did the DA here, Skirka, did the cops, did they know they were violating the law because they were using all these substances? They did know. That's what the judge basically said. There was all types of violations in the procedures so they knew. So it's incompetence. It's incompetence that's been going on for so long. Because this particular prosecutor just seen his job is, in the case of Rubio, everybody that's followed that knows that the girl lied. There was another case where a girl claimed she was held against her will, and that the assailant had bars on the bathroom window. She gave a description of the bathroom. There were bars in the window and all of this. Now in court, the guy said, she's lying. It was maybe a girl that was on the streets that did drugs. So happened. Of course, there were never any bars in that man's house. Never any bars in that man's window. Everything she said about the description was a lie. And it all came out. They still got a conviction. That man's in prison. They weren't concerned. As long as the jury believe, whatever. But when they realize the prosecutors and all are lying, and they got a trail of it, I consider what they're doing here is like a rogue operation that in most parts of the country, that stuff doesn't go on to the degree that it does here. So today you have the water thing coming out that the city officials in 2013, there was supposed to be something implemented to investigate backflow, and they didn't do it. They covered this up as well. This just came out today on the radio. So when you're dealing, there can be officials that, my friend Albert on the street, I was using the water on a regular basis, My friend Albert told me he drank some of the water. And look, he's not looking for a lawsuit. He probably wouldn't even bring one up. But he said he was working for one of the guys that they work for, and the guy told him, don't drink the water. And Albert drank one little bit. Now, Albert's alcoholic, but he does drink water sometimes. So he had a water bottle yesterday, a regular one he's hiding. Good, I'm glad he spent money on the water bottle. He said he drank that water, and he got so sick, he felt like he had the flu. Now we found out that the city officials were supposed to do somebody yelled at me. We found out that the city officials were supposed to do something about it in 2013. The backflow was supposed to be checked, and they didn't do it. So I don't know what you could say about it. I was reading, I'm not going to teach now because I got a regular teaching who's going to go. But in Revelation, I think 18, 17. But there's judgments that take place. There's judgments that take place in society, over nations, over people, judgments. I just see when you have judges from the bench consistently saying, no, you DA, you all are breaking the law, and we can't stop you. There's no stopping them. Judges telling that. I don't know of any county in the U.S. that you have that happen. And it's reported, and it goes on, and it continues, and they're unstoppable with it. I don't know of municipalities where you have officers involved in open felonies. Some that I have reported, and it goes on, and it's unstoppable. And they feel like this far south, you ain't gonna stop us. That's the sense I get. I think some of the younger cops don't even know if some of the older ones are involved in this part of the country. And I see the same cops on TV. Whenever something comes up, and what about homicides? And the consistent thing is, it has nothing to do with the policing. No, it does. I don't know if 2 weeks ago I made the videos where I tried to knock on the door of the police station in Flower Bluff and downtown. And I actually thought I'd get somebody at the main station. I didn't realize they kind of shut that one down too. I just think there's a degree of incompetence, there's a degree of lack of training, and then there's a degree of criminality. The judges have called out law enforcement in this region time and time again, and there's multiple cases that are made famous because of it. I think they can't stop. The solution is not just that Mr. Skirk is out of office. He needs to be investigated by the feds. Is he involved in money, criminal activity that they got money for certain? They need to be investigated. They need to be investigated for these things. I didn't go look up that case. I saw it on the news. And I thought again, the Rosas case. What is the SOP of just serving the warrant? How could you go to a residence and the people in the home, say if there were kids in the home, and you're not knocking as a SWAT team, you're shooting a flash bomb into the residence. How do you do that? If you believe that it's a danger, that the person you're going to arrest is in danger and all. But what about the kids that might have been in the home? What about the Rosas guy who you tried him for 7 counts of attempted capital murder? Anybody would have responded thinking a bomb went off in his house, that somebody's doing an invasion because we have so much crime in the city. Not only do you not do the right thing and say, man, because you knew that the guy didn't know you were cops. You knew it because Skirka withheld 22 pieces of exculpatory evidence, which is a violation of the law. Judge Williams said it from the bench. And like kids, that when you keep committing crimes, you laugh. The paper calls you to say, wait a minute, what is your response to what the judge said? The illegal activities, you don't answer. And then you keep doing it. What's the difference from that type of criminality than from a drug addict or a person robbing credit unions? You're all swearing under oath, but in the name of God, in these official court documents, and you're lying consistently. You're doing a disgrace to the city. That's what you're doing. Anybody that watches these, I just sent a letter, by the way, with my website card in it. It went out yesterday. One went to the president, might as well, to other agencies as well. And I just realized they'll probably get the letter tomorrow. And so they'll get to see all these videos. If they say, what is this guy talking about? We're requesting in Corpus Christi, Texas, for the federal authorities to come in and to investigate Mark Skirka, because local judges, Judge Nanette Hassett, Judge Guy Williams, have called him out in court proceedings for breaking the law. So we're requesting, please, feds, come in. We have a water crisis in Corpus Christi. We have a corruption crisis within the prosecutor's office. And we have a criminal problem within agencies that are supposed to uphold law. And it's a track record of it. It's a track record. They're undoing many cases, and the Texas higher courts are sending back cases and saying, you've done wrong, you've done wrong. So what we would like is for the feds to somehow take over whatever agency you can take over in this and put us under. You take us over. Because the local authorities can't. You need to investigate Mark Skirka, because judges have come out multiple times saying that he's breaking the law. So we're requesting for you to look into it. Okay? So this will be the last one for today. None of these are new. None of these are new. None of these are made up. They just figure if they can keep getting away with it, they'll keep getting away with it. Okay? So that's it for today. You got a little tour out on the road. Okay? God bless everybody.